Hi folks, this is Koiro with a short video. I said that I normally don't do unboxing videos, but this is just a short brief to remind all of you how bad things can go if you don't consider the way you pack things when you send them in the mail. And as you can see, I'm filming today from my outdoor shed where I normally do unpacking of large boxes. And I have just opened the lid on this box. I have not taken out the contents. So we will see this for the first time. I'm only lifted the first cover and I didn't like what I was seeing. As you can see when I zoom in on this, you can see that this is a monitor and you can clearly see the broken pieces of plastic in here. I will move the camera a bit and we will unpack the rest together. I moved the camera slightly. This camera is today mounted on a tripod and I think we can get some good angles from there. And this sorry sight is actually the screen of an Apple computer, original Apple II green phosphor monitor. And I will try to lift this out of the box and I will try to give a close-up shot of this later. I think I will first take out this is a box in a box. So I will try to take out this first. And then you can see what's hiding beneath here. I will zoom in a bit. So now you can clearly see the cracks in the plastic on the Apple II case too. So this has clearly been, the monitor has clearly been resting just on top of the computer. I will change the camera angle again and I will try to inspect the damage on the monitor first. And I will first try to pick out the loose pieces of plastic to minimize the damage that might be on the screen itself. There are some more pieces here. This is clearly part of the grill, the ventilation grill, and I see some more pieces inside. And they tried to box this in with plastic, but of course that's of no use when you load down the computer with the full weight of the screen. And of course this plastic is getting brittle and very easy to crack when it's getting old, but this is far worse than you normally can believe this will go. You see there's a lot of these pieces missing on the grill and every one of them has fallen inside the monitor. At least I think it was that. I can't for one moment think that this was in this bad shape when it was packed down. I will just remove the box. Yeah, you can see that the monitor itself also has been hit because this bezel is not fitting inside. But if the vacuum tube itself is not cracked and if all this is still intact, then we might be able to save this monitor. But I will have to take it apart to really see that. This is something I love about this old Apple computer, that they have the built-in tilt on the screen. That's quite unique for this kind of monitor. Yeah, I've put the monitor aside and I will try to lift up some of the contents from the Apple box. And I don't know the best way to actually do this, but I might try just to cut down the box. Yeah, what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to just cut away some of the box here to just slide out the contents. I think that will be safer than trying to lift anything of this out of the box as the state this is in now. Yeah, you can see there are two disk drives. This is actually a metal case and it doesn't look too bad. Might have been giving a dent. And this is an original Apple disk, and this is the Rana system compatible disk drive. And here you probably have the output for a printer. And here you can clearly see the damage on the computer unit itself. I will put these away some further behind on the desk, and I will just try to slide this out like this and remove the box, and then we will be able to see if there are some way to salvage this computer. It will be really sorry if we have to, if this is beyond repair. And as I've stated in earlier videos, this channel is not about making this into mint condition as it was when it was new, but this is far beyond what we want to accomplish, so I have to do something with this box. And here you can see this is Apple IIe model. It has the Norwegian keyboard layout and the keyboard looks to be okay. I will try to take off the lid, and it of course looks better inside, but as you can see, this damage has happened early on in the transportation because this large chunk of plastic is laying inside the box, and it was laying on a totally other place than just beneath the crack. And if you try to fit some of this together to see how much of the case actually it's missing. This part fits there and this fits there. So this part here is missing as now. I have to inspect the box to see if there are more parts inside. It smells a bit musty, of course. The cards don't seem damaged, and the main board itself, I don't think it look damaged, but I will try to turn this box on the side to see if there are some cracks underneath, and that it's not. So the main board is probably okay, or at least it's not damaged by transportation. And this model is made for the Norwegian market. As we said, they had the Norwegian keyboard and it has 220 to 240 volt power supply. And it has the grapper plus printer interface. That was the cable that I saw was running out in the back. And it also seems to have a serial interface, the floppy disk interface, and this 80 column cards. So I will give this a shot, but all this looks as fresh damage. Okay, here we have some more plastic, one more piece, It's very difficult to find where every one of these pieces should be. If anyone has some suggestions about how this best could be fitted together again. I don't know how this plastic and what kind of plastic this really are. It can be gluable with acetone if it is some PLA type of plastic, and then the cracks will not be so obvious. It can be gluable with some kind of super glue. I really don't know, but the case at least has to be secured. We can't repair all the damage that's occurred to this computer, but maybe we will get it in working order and it will bear its scars with proudness when we have been able to clean this up and actually see if it boots and it's working. The computer appears to be from about 1983. I don't have much experience with these computers. I've been working on them several years ago, but I don't remember everything. Let's see on this 80 column card. It's 83. So this computer was probably made sometimes after the middle of 1983. So this computer has lived its whole life in Norway, and it's probably been standing stored for many years, and I think it deserves a better future than this, so I have to try to get it working at least, and then we can see at the aesthetics as a bonus if we are able to fix the appearance up a bit. I've inspected the boxes to look for the one missing piece here, and I don't know if all the pieces in the monitor is present, but I only find this label for the Rana Systems iLit 1, and that's the label for the floppy drive. I will try to take the lid off from this box, or I think it's you take out the bottom actually of these cases, and I will review it more careful, because the problem is that this plastic also need to be washed. It's very yellow and it's already very brittle and cracked, so retrobrighting and other stuff that's really out of the question, and I really don't know what to do with this case, but probably the best thing will be to just glue it up and then paint it to make it a bit more to make its appearance a bit more in line what a computer of this lineage really deserves. Because I'm really sorry for this computer to be handled this way, and I would never allow anyone to ship this in this state if I knew the packing would be so bad. But this computer was actually saved from the dump. I actually told the person, I can pay you both for your troubles and for the packaging and shipping, and they've shipped in on the packaging, that's for sure. But let's try to take off the case and see what we are able to save when we get the plastic off. There actually is one screw missing here in the front. It's probably been missing for a while, but I can't see any damage between the screw hole, and I don't know if this computer was in working condition when it was packed down years ago, but it probably was, because people don't tend to keep things that they know are defect. So this probably would have been tossed in the bin years ago if the owner did know that it was in not working condition. I will also take out these screws for the power supply before I turn it over, and that might be that the power supply is dropping when I do this, so I have to be careful. There are some pieces of plastic that get shall note this is the one we had before, and this is one small piece. Yes. So now you can see the sad state this is in. It's cracked all the way over here. But actually this is kind of repairable, and if we can put some strengthening issues inside here, we probably will be able to save it as a case that we can paint to make it better. So that will be the plan for now. The power supply will be my first test. I will take out the power supply and I will see if the power supply needs some maintenance before I can try to power up this. Yes. I can't really understand. It's of course a cost issue. But the way Apple handled this with these flat cables that was just twisted around like this and handled the way they are, and that they are not disconnectable in some easy way, I really can't understand what the motivation for this is. I will try to disconnect these cables now to see if I'm able to get it more handleable. See these cables that's been running through sharp edges, they probably, you can see here that this probably is a earth wire, but anyway, and this cable is quite brittle too, so they might break, but that's an easy fix at least. And this is just the loose printer cable. We can leave the card. This is for the video signal. This is composite video for the monitor. And this is a common fault with this, that this connector is broken, and I can see that this is not very good on this computer either. But now I will be able to put that away and I will open the power supply. You can probably see this here on the color of these screws. They are quite rusty. They're kind of hard to get, but my trusty old yellow screwdriver is doing its job. And this screwdriver actually was a perfect fit for these screws. And that happens quite often with old equipment, that this old screwdriver is working like a charm. My last Apple II computer actually was American model that had a slightly unoriginal OEM power supply to convert it to European use. And that means I've never actually opened an original Apple power supply before. I can quite like some of the construction in this power supply. This is really sturdy work, and this is really high quality components, except those reefer caps. And as you probably know by now, these reefer caps tend to explode, and that is because when these are getting warm, the plastic in these reefer caps tend to crack, and there will be oxidation on the insulation layer on these, and they will actually short out when you put on power. And these are X capacitors, which means they're connected directly to the live voltage, and that can be quite the bang when they explode. I will change these capacitors at least before I turn on the power supply. When it comes to these capacitors, they're probably not at their best. But do you see how clean this is? Apart from the yellowing on the plastic on these silicone rubber protection things and the reefer capacitors, it actually looks like it come out of the factory just some hours ago. And of course there is no fan that circulates dust and stuff inside, but anyway, heat tends to make the air static and attract dust. But this looks totally clean. I can't see 1 gram of dust here. It's totally clean. Yeah, you know these caps from reefer, of course this is X rated capacitors, and they're rated to take the full line voltage, and they're meant to be made in an extra protective way. So these are original Rifa capacitors from the same lineage and age, and I think they actually was not quite this yellow and they was not quite that white, but this is a similar Rifa capacitors that has never been used, and the plastic is kind of yellowing. It actually seems like some kind of epoxy in these, and this is totally white. You can see it's the same kind of plastic layer, but they actually have a yellow hint of them, the one that's rated for higher voltage. But the Rifa capacitors that has been stored like this and never been used, and I have quite a lot of these, when I look to them in a microscope, the plastic looks totally new and uncracked. But when I look in these in a microscope, they actually look cracked in the plastic. So that's the work of the heat. When this plastic is exposed to heat over time, it cracks. But these will be easily replaceable, and I do have some modern spare parts that I will put in, and even though this is not necessary for the function of the power supply, it's actually to dampen the noise that this power supply transmits to the line voltage, and I see no reason to pollute the line voltage by not mounting new caps. To change those caps, I do have to dismount this power supply, and it has this strange way of doing things. You have these fastening points here, and they're actually fastened by nuts rather than screws. So I have to find some suitable tools to remove these nuts. I will first try by the wrong kind of tool. I have this earth wire that has a really good connection to the chassis. Always makes it harder to get this loose, and you can see that this is actually bending from the force that I have to use to take it out, and yeah, you can see there it was breaking. It's no big deal really, because I can actually use the connection that's down here when I mount it again, because earth is earth. I'm not sure I have to remove this because these leads are quite long, but on this side I have to do something because the switch is, yeah, it's kind of locking the board in, and it's not possible to get it this way, so I have to take out these leads and hope that I don't break anything and will be able to get them in place again. So I mark this with bottom. And this with bottom. Yes. Then I will take out the switch so I can slide out the board. Just like so. And then hopefully, without breaking anything, I will be able to lift off this board. Yes, it looks like this came out of the factory just yesterday. And the power supply is made by the Aztec company, and I've always been quite fond of Aztec power supplies. They tend to keep high quality. But what we set out to do here was to take these Rifa caps and change them, and then we can try to turn this on. And if it's not working, we have to take and change some of the other capacitors, and probably we should do that anyway, but we will try with this one first to see what happens. I will just, I can desolder this in the easiest way, and I will clean up afterward. I don't have the solder braid or my desoldering gun out here, but that's an easy one. And this is not the worst reefer caps I've seen. And as you can see here, this is getting quite yellow. And you can also see there are some brown spots inside this yellowing. And that is what I take as oxidation on the inside foil on these capacitors. So even though they look just fine, I would not bet anything to power these on. But this is stated for 250 volt AC voltage, and it's possible to test these by just connecting them to 220 volt AC, and if they don't explode, they're probably okay. But they will break sooner or later, so it's always a good idea to change them. And we have one that's 0.47 microfarad, and you see that it's marked as an X. And we have one that's 0.1 microfarad, and that's 100 nanofarad and 470 nanofarad. So I will just go and see what I find for replacement of these. I said that I would have suitable replacement, but actually I did not. But I have kind of this curiosity for you. This is reefer capacitor that's brand new. This is not new old stock. This is actually a brand new from a distributor reefer cap. And this is a plug-in replaceable for this. So this will go straight in to this position on the board. I just have to heat the pads to get this inside. But this one is a bit worse, and I don't have the right cap. I have these that's also 100 nanofarad, and I will replace the one with these 4 capacitors, and that's possible to do. They should all be connected in parallel, and they should be placed on the board to fit into these smaller holes. You see, you have actually the double set of hole if you want to use smaller caps on these, and you actually have many sizes on this big one. And probably you don't have to use a 470 nanofarad like this, and I'm going to replace it with 400 nanofarad, and I will just solder this together like so to make a chain out of this, and I will just jinx it in place. And what you have to think about here is that you really should not heat up capacitors too much. Modern capacitors are better than they used to be in the past, but it's of course, if you expose them to extra heat, they're not happy capacitors. like that. Now I will have to do some googling to check what will be what on this, and if I have to make some dummy load or something to make this actually work and boot without a computer connected, but I won't connect this to the main board until I've actually tried it. So that will be it for this episode. Thanks for watching. It has been rather longer than I actually thought when I opened the lid of the box. If you want to be notified when I post another video, please hit subscribe.